Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Professor Thayer with you here today to talk to you about how to tune your violin using the Sona MTM-30 Chromatic Metro Tuner. I'm going to do a series on how to tune your violin and how to keep your violin in tune. Today's episode is going to deal with getting familiar with this tuner. We'll be talking about the various functions and how to use those and testing it out, so that you will have the idea on how you can work this. And to help us with this, we are going to also be using a pitch pipe as our standard tone generator for today. This is called the Master Key. This was actually had this for a number of years. It's probably a good 40 years old, or perhaps even older. But we'll be using this pitch pipe to help us along today. So those of you who may be new to violin may be in the situation that you need to learn how to tune it, or perhaps like in my family, we have a young budding violinist, and you may find yourself in the situation of needing to tune the violin of your child or a relative of yours. And so this is actually the tuner that had come with the kit that I had purchased for my niece who lives in another city. And so I'm trying to help them learn how to tune the violin. And I thought others may also benefit from this. So this is what we'll be talking about today. So here I'm just opening the box. It comes with two standard AAA batteries at 1.5 volts each, just the usual batteries. And so this is the tuner, like I was saying, that came with the kit that I had bought. It had a violin and a variety of accessories. And so I had actually picked up a duplicate of this tuner so that we could explain how to do the tuning over the internet, which may be the situation for some of you who are taking lessons remotely in the COVID or post-COVID era. So in the box, we have this tuner, we have the instruction manual, we have the batteries, and then there's just a card from the people that I had bought this from. All right, so the first thing we need to do is take this out of the bag and put the batteries in. So we'll just open this up like so. We notice that on the back, it's got a little battery compartment right here. And so we're just gonna press and pull and then rotate that open. We're gonna peek inside to see the orientation of the batteries. It will have the orientation with the plus and minus in there. So the minus, you can match those up to the plus and minus on the battery in the usual way. You can see there's a plus and minus on here. So it looks like the pluses go down. So we'll insert the batteries like so to match the indication that just fell down inside. And we put the second one in. That's a bit of a tight, snug fit here, but we should be able to get that in. All right, there we go. And then we just rotate and push the little door back in. Notice we also have this little kickstand back here, just like this, so that you would be able to stand your metronome tuner up like that if you're gonna set it down. All right, so let's just familiarize ourselves with the various buttons that are present on this. So, and other features. So we notice that there's the power button is right here. It says on, off. This is the mode button. It's going to cycle between 3 different modes, which we're going to include tuner, metro for metronome, and sound for generating pitches as it's doing, as it's producing some sound. That's another mode you can have it. And then we have some adjustments that we're able to make with these 4 buttons, which are basically set up in 2 banks down here. So we're going to have the up and down arrow for the pitch and tempo. And we also have this bank of buttons here that's going to modulate the note, flat, key, and rhythm and beat. We'll get into how all of those are going to work and which mode they pertain to. We also have the microphone up here. This is where it is going to pick up the input sound. So when you're trying to tune something, this is where it will be taking in the tune. Note also that the microphone may pick up ambient noise, so it is useful if you can use your tuner in a location that does not have lots of ambient background noise. We also have the light system here, the flat green light, meaning it matches the note, and then the sharp button here. These will light up in green and the two reds, as you can see here. On the top, we have the volume. This is going to adjust the volume of the tone being generated, and also can be used to adjust the volume of the beats when you use it in the metronome mode. Finally, we notice that it has some jacks on the side. So this jack right on this side is for standard headphones. So you can plug in your headphones and listen to beats. There are headphones over here. So probably you won't be doing this when you're tuning a violin, but you could. It just takes this jack like so, and you can simply just plug that in, and this is just a standard pair of headphones. Obviously, this isn't going to work with USB headphones, which you may have, but you can anyways generate the tone and listen to it, or listen to the beat through your headphones if desired. Now, this input jack is actually for when you're going to tune an electronic instrument, such as a bass or a guitar, like electronic instruments of that kind, not a classical guitar, which will also just use the microphone. But you can use this input for that. Now, we're going to be focusing on tuning a violin, although much of what we'll talk about should pertain to other instruments as well. But if you do have one of those instruments, you would plug it in here. Otherwise, you do not plug it in. You'll use the microphone instead. So let's talk about each of the modes that the metronome tuner can operate in, and see how we can affect how each of those modes is operating using the adjustment button. So the first thing we need to do, of course, is to turn it on. So you need to press, and you may need to press and hold this. It says 2 seconds in the manual, but it actually takes it maybe a little more like 3 seconds, 3 or 4 seconds. So just make sure you press and hold, and you'll recognize that it's on because there will be a picture of the tuner in the screen. So now what we see here is that it's showing you a scale, and it's picking up on my voice and reporting out which note it is hearing and whether it is sharp or flat. And we also notice have this 440 up here noted as a point of demarcation. So what exactly does that 440 mean? 440 is for concert A. When we talk about a particular pitch, that pitch is going to be measured in hertz. That means the number of wave oscillations per second. Hertz actually means per second, and it's how many wave oscillations per second. Sound waves travel, audible sound waves travel at a pretty quick pace. And so, for example, 440 hertz represents the sound of the concert A, which sounds like this. If I can just find, here we go. And we see that when we play the concert A, as I'm blowing from this pitch pipe, it will show the letter right here of the note that is being played. Now this pitch pipe is pretty old, so it's possible it may be slightly out of tune. Not surprising, because it may have a bit of corrosion inside and so on. But anyways, it's reasonably accurate according to this. So let's see, we can actually try some other notes. I'll just go up the scale. So now I'll play a B. And we also have 2 C's. This is chromatic in the C scale, so I'll play high C and low C. Low C is, there we go, D, E, F, G, and then we come back to A. So you'll see that it's reporting which note is being played when it is hearing those sounds, and it's reporting on whether or not those notes are in tune by showing us with the needle. So it will be a 0 when it is exactly in tune and the green light lights up for that particular note. And also it will be reporting how far off it is, if at all, in percentages with this needle fluctuating back and forth. So that gives you a sense of how far off something is. So that will become important as we actually try to tune a violin that is out of tune to put it into tune. Now, there's a couple of things that we can adjust with this. And so, first of all, let's take a look at what the up and down arrows do. So we notice that this is tuned to 440 to concert A, which is typically what you're going to tune to when you're tuning a violin. So when we press this button, we see that the hertz are actually changing. It's actually going down as I'm pressing this. So it goes all the way down to 430. And then if I press down again, it will wrap around to the 450 and so on, because that's the range that it operates in. Basically, what this is going to do is this is going to modulate the range over which it is tuning to. So for example, when we have 440 and we play A, it's going to tell us that it's in tune. But let's say that I change this to 435. Okay, so now it's going to say, okay, is this A in tune according to a standard pitch of 435? So the answer should be no. And I'm expecting that this is going to be sharp relative to that because this is 440, which is a higher frequency than the 435, which now it's calibrated to measure. So I'm playing A. Oops. Now I'm playing A. And it in fact is saying that it is sharp, which makes sense. Now, if I play the same one and I calibrate this above the 440, so I'm going to now put it at 445. Let's see what happens when I again play A. So now I'm expecting it's going to be flat because the true 440 is lower than 445. And we see that that is true. So when you're tuning, if you're purposely trying to tune above or below, or for whatever reason need to adjust it, the calibration to which you're tuning, this is how you could do it. But for all intents and purposes, you really should be tuning with your tuner set at 440 hertz. Now, the other thing that we can adjust is the flats and the key. So let's take a look at what's going to happen with the flats. Now, this is in some sense is similar to changing your 440. This is going to allow us to do tuning in flats, which I believe is something that's typically done with guitars. So this is not something that's usually done with a violin. You really should be tuning without any flats on. But let's see what will happen if we press this this button here. We see that some little flats are appearing on the screen. Right here. You see the flats are appearing. So I can go all the way up to 4 flats. Okay, so, and then I can press, oops, I've just changed this by accident. Okay, so now here we are, back to 440 and no flats being displayed. So when I use the flat, basically what it's going to do is it's going to recalibrate to rotate this, effectively rotate this, the pitch. So here we have no flats on in 440, and if I play A, we're in tune. Now let's see what will happen if I put this to 1 flat. So now I'm going to again play A. It actually, and it says I'm playing A sharp, which we notice is 1 position rotated on the chromatic scale. So 1 flat has moved from half a step. Now, if I instead play, in fact, A G sharp, it tells me that it's an A because it is basically effectively rotated the scale by 1 half step. And so if I keep pressing the flats, I will have the same effect now, but rotating with 2. So again, A now has gone to B, 1, 2 steps. on this scale. And if I play a G, which is 2 steps away, it in fact tells me that it's an A. And so I can continue with this with 3 flats. So now it should be telling me 1, 2, 3, that's C, is a D sharp. And we can go 1, 2, 3 to F sharp. Tells me F sharp is A. And the final one we can do is 4. So we should be on F here. Tells me F is A. And tells me that C is C sharp, and so on. So you'll see that basically the scale has been rotated. So if you are intending to tune in a flat, then this is how you would do it. Now for violin tuning, you really shouldn't be doing that. So you want to make sure that you are not turning on the flats. And if you do turn on the flats, we simply want to make sure that that is turned off so that they are not displaying, and we see there are no flats displayed here. Okay, the other thing that we can do is we can change the key signature. Now in the C major scale, the C major scale is running from C to C with just the notes and no sharps and no flats, because we have the half step built into the actual letters themselves. So for example, between E and F, it's a half step, and between F and G is a whole step in the standard steps that make up the Western scale. And so you want to have this in C major scale. If you switch to another scale by pressing the key button, we see that we can change to other scales. Now what that's going to do is it's going to change the relative spacing between the notes depending on which sharps and flats are in those various scales. Now this is the scales in their relation to the circle of fifths. That's a little bit more music theory than I really want to get into today. So I think for all intents and purposes, we can simply and safely say just make sure that you are in the key of C for tuning your violin. This will likely be useful for many instruments as well. And when we are in the key of C, then the note that it's showing is the note that we want to match. And those notes all match the open strings on the violin, which do not have any sharps or flats. Okay, so then just to summarize, we have now talked about the tuner mode, which is the mode that this will be on when you turn it on for the first time. And if for whatever reason it's not, you get there by pressing this button right here. We can modulate the pitch using the up and down arrows here, and we can change the number of flats and the key signature using these buttons here. For tuning the violin, we really want to be at concert A, 440. We want to be in the key of C, which is recorded right here, and we do not want to have any flats being displayed for the flat tuning mode. It should be in regular mode, no flat tuning. And so that's how we can use this in order to report out what note is being played, which will be useful when we are tuning the violin to tell us what note the string is playing to find out if it is the correct note. Okay, next we're going to move on to the metronome mode. And so I'm going to get to the metronome mode by pressing the mode button, and we see that we have a metronome. Now notice actually that we can't hear anything. So what I'm going to do is just adjust the volume here. And I see that we now have some sound being played so that we can do this. We recognize metronome mode because we have the little metronome needle going back and forth. And it is making out a little beat here. I'm going to go ahead and turn this down. It's also using the colored flashing lights to show the beat. So notice that it's using a combination of the reds, and so it's counting out and it's differentiating between the major beat of the time signature that it's doing and then the intermediate beats as well. I'm going to go ahead and turn that down. So now the first thing we're going to take a look at is the BPM that is now being shown up in this section right here. And this stands for beats per minute. It is how many clicks are happening per minute. And this is oftentimes, well, it's the same measurement that's used for your heart rate. So if you want to get some estimate and you're familiar with heart rates, this may be a useful rule of thumb. Right now I have this set at 120. A reasonable beats per minute is probably somewhere around 100 beats per minute for practice if you're just starting out. But you can see that we can adjust this, and it goes all the way down to, oops, I just went past 30. So also notice that it cycles back and forth. So if you press the down arrow and go past 30, it will skip up to 250, which is the top one that it will do, the fastest one. So here we have the 30 beats per minute, and we see this is putting this out pretty slowly. This is very slow. And so we can then also change this by just using this. And notice also that if you hold and press these buttons, that you can actually skip. So notice that it did a little bit of skipping by tens if you hold and press, so you can figure out what will be the best for you. So I'll just go ahead and put this back to, oh, I don't know, about 100 beats per minute. All right. Now, the other thing that we can adjust is the beat, which it's actually beating out. And so for this, we're going to use the other bank of buttons, and the rhythm and beat are the keys that are going to apply for this mode. So for example, we can change the rhythm. So you can see that now it's beating out more frequent beats inside of the main beats, but the major beats are still at the same frequency. So we can do this in order to change how many intermediate notes are being played. I'm going to actually just put this down a little bit lower. And so this is actually set in 3, so this is in 3/3 time. Notice it's counting out 3. So this, for example, would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and just like that, because it's got the notes being displayed, showing us that it is the quarter note divided in half now. Okay, so next thing we can do is we can also do division by 3, which we can see just like this mode. We can also do the mode where it beats out this pattern, and we also have this pattern with multiple divisions, more divisions in it. And we have this pattern as well. Okay, and then we come back to the original one, which is just the quarter note. So it is beating out just a simple 1, 2, 3 over the course of 94 beats per minute. Okay, so that's how we can change the rhythm that's being beaten out, but you may also want to match this to your time signature. So for example, the most common time signatures are probably going to be 4/4, which is also known as common time signature, and also 3/4, which gets 3 beats per measure. 4/4, of course, is 4 beats per measure. That is 4 quarter notes. So this number here, this 3, is going to be what's telling, which is going to be the most helpful for matching this to your time signature. Of course, this over here is simply just counting your beats for you, so you know where you are in the measure. So here we're at 3. We can also change it to 4. So now we're basically in 4/4 time, and it's beating out 4 clicks per measure. And so we can change how many beats per measure by simply increasing this, by pressing this beat button. And this will go now up to 5, and it goes all the way up to 10, which is, and now here we are back to 0. So we can do a range of these to get whichever time signature you may have, 9 and 0. Okay, so actually there's 10, but it doesn't go at 10, it goes back to 0. So let's say you wanted to put this in 4/4 time. We would then press the beats up to 4. And then here's the simple rhythm. You may want to do a divided rhythm. So here's a very common way of doing this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, and so you may wish to do that. Another common one is the 3/4 with the same division, in which case we would simply just change this to the 3. And now you've got 1 and 2 and 3 and being clicked out for you. So that's how we would use this as the metronome. Of course, you can adjust this, and also this may be something where wearing the headphones may be helpful to you if you wanted to have the beats clicked out and not heard by your music, heard while you're playing or whatever. All right, so the next thing we're going to do then is move into the sound mode. This is going to be the mode which generates the sound. So I'm going to get there by simply pressing this sound button. Now this is generating a pitch. So if you are going to play in an orchestra, it's likely that the conductor is going to put out a device such as this, and it's going to have A440 playing just like it is right now. So what that's going to do is it's going to give you the pitch, and this is the standard pitch to which orchestras tune because all of the instruments can tune from a 440A. So this in fact has the ability to do a couple of different things. You can again change the pitch. So similar to when we were using this in the tuner mode, you can also adjust the pitch in fine increments by using the arrow buttons to adjust that. So this would, if you were to play the pitch in these modes, you would be tuning to the wrong pitch if you don't have it set to 440. So if for some reason your instrument is out of calibration, although that really shouldn't happen with an electronic instrument, but I guess you could use that to adjust it, or if you, for whatever reason, wanted to tune to something slightly different than 440. But for all intents and purposes, you're going to want to be tuning to 440, so this should be set to 440. Notice that over here, it's reporting what note that it's playing. It's playing the A. It's not telling you a different note as you adjust the pitch, but it's playing A. Okay, now the next thing we can do is we can do some more adjustments over here with this bank of keys. And so the note is going to be what these are going to change in this mode. So for example, we can increment up the scale. We have now just gone to A sharp, so it's going to go through the chromatic scale, B, and now we've actually wrapped around in the C scale. So it's gone to C, and now C sharp, D, E, D sharp, E, F. Notice that E and F has only a half step between it. G, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, and that's back to where we started. Now, what I can do is, let's say that I adjusted the pitch. I'm going to adjust this down to 430. So now it's giving it A, but it's flat. It's at the 430 instead of 440. All of the other notes are going to change relative to that. Okay, so that gives you some idea. So why you would want to tune to a different pitch, I'm not exactly sure, but it's possible that that could be done. So really what you want to do is you want to play the A at 440. Now when you're tuning a violin, this can be helpful because it can play the pitch. Now the A is going to match to your A string, and the D is going to match to your D string. But it is not going to play the exact pitch you need for the E string, because the E that's played in this scale is going to be too low. Your E string is going to be 1 octave above, and the G string is going to be 1 octave below the pitch that's played here. So you can tune to it, but you need to recognize that you're going to be off by an octave. So usually people are going to learn how to tune by ear relative to the A440, and you can use it in the tuner mode in order to see whether or not it is in tune. But this can be helpful, especially if you're tuning for the first time and are not really sure what it ought to sound like. You can at least get 2 of the 4 strings for this to actually play the pitch that you're looking for, so that you can listen to how close you are to that pitch. All right, so then in summary, we have taken a look at the Sona MTM-30 Chromatic Metro Tuner. We have looked to see the various functions on this. We have seen that it has a kickstand on the back. We have seen that it has 2 input jacks, one for headphones and one for use with electronic instruments, and the volume adjuster on the top, battery compartment on the back where you will put your batteries in. We have taken a look at how to turn this on and off using the on-off button, and we have looked at the 3 different modes: the tuner, the metronome or metro, and the sound generation mode or sound. The tuner mode, looking like this, can be used to tell the tune, and that can be adjusted using the pitch here. And we can also adjust this using the up and down arrows over here. This will adjust our relative pitch. This should be set to 440 and to A. We've also talked about using it in the metronome mode, which is going to, we've also talked about using this in the metronome mode, which is going to click out the beats for you. You probably want something around 100 beats per minute, and you probably want the eighth notes. And you can also pick how many beats per minute with this big number here. The little one is going to count them out for you, and the lights are going to blink those for you. Adjust with volume. And finally, we have also talked about the sound generation, which we get by going into the 3rd mode. And this is going to then play the pitches, which you can adjust using these keys here. We can listen to A, 440, and D to help you tune your violin strings. When we're done, we simply can press the on-off button. Also, if it is not in use for a period of time, it does have an auto shut off. All right, well, I hope that you found this useful for getting used to working with your tuner. In our next video, we will talk about how we can actually tune the violin itself using this, and we will demonstrate how to do that. For now, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.